We are here at the Turtle Hospital. Somehow we have never made it to the Turtle Hospital. It's located in Marathon, and they rescue, rehab, and release injured sea turtles. And I remember shortly after Irma, within I think like hours of Irma passing, they were out rescuing sea turtles. I have heard so many good things about this place, and I can't wait to go inside and see all the turtles and see all the good things that this place is doing for them.
Don't forget who you are. Don't lose your head or your heart. I'll bet my life on your stars. You'll be dancing on the moon.
As I just mentioned, the Turtle Hospital in Marathon is an active hospital for sea turtles, but it is open to visitors. So it's not a zoo or anything like that. The turtles here are real patients of the hospital. This is the gift shop and entrance, and this part is open from 9 to 6. You can learn a lot about the turtles here. You can visit this part of the hospital anytime during those open times from 9 to 6, but in order to see the turtles, you must be on a guided educational tour. Those tours run at the top of the hour, starting at 9 a.m., and then the last tour is at 4. They're approximately 90 minutes long, and reservations are recommended but not required. This is our tour guide taking us to the educational center. It's here that you learn a lot about the turtles in even more depth, such as what hurts them, what typically brings them into the hospital, their policies, the kinds of turtles, all sorts of information. Then you get to see the real emergency rooms, which are pictured here. These are the active emergency rooms, and so if the doctors were to be in those rooms with the turtles, there is a TV on the screen above each room so that you can see what they are doing inside. After seeing the emergency room and learning all about the turtles, we were ready to go actually see the turtles. So I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I thought was really cool. The original owner of the Turtle Hospital actually ran a resort in this location, as in like a hotel resort. He started bringing in animals to attract people, but back then the only way that you could have turtles is if you were rehabbing them. Back then, that's also when the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were popular and kids were asking for turtles. So he decided to become a rehabilitation hospital. In 2005, Wilma destroyed a lot of the resort. The rooms were flooded, and instead of fixing it, he created it to be a hospital. So now rehab staff can live on the grounds, which is amazing. And these tanks that you see here were added after Wilma. Most of the turtles rode out Hurricane Irma in those tanks that you just saw. They are a newer addition to the Turtle Hospital. Most of the sea turtles are actually located in the resort's original swimming pool. That is where we are walking here. It's located right on the Gulf, so it has beautiful views, but most importantly, this allowed them to bring in water straight from the Gulf, so the turtles are actually swimming in salt water here. Something I also found to be very interesting is that while sea turtles don't mind being in each other's company, they don't need each other's company, and they don't get attached to one another. They also don't get attached to the humans that are helping them. One common sea turtle injury is what they refer to as bubble butt. This is when a turtle gets struck by a boat, which results in micro bubbles underneath their shells. These bubbles prevent turtles from being able to dive, and in the wild, this would be fatal because they'd be unable to eat. There's no way to remove the bubbles, so even with the hospital's intervention, the turtles are non-releasable if they have bubble butt. You can see many turtles here have circles on their shell. These are turtles with bubble butt, and the circles are weights that help them dive underwater. Unfortunately, those weights would eventually fall off due to the sea turtle's shell growing, which is why they are non-releasable. This is a better view of the Turtle Hospital's massive pool. This is where most of the permanent residents of the hospital reside. It is a 100,000-gallon pool. On the right, you see some smaller pools, and I believe that this is where the hatchlings would be. We didn't get to see any on our visit, and as much as I would love to see a baby turtle, the less patients the hospital has is better. Here you see sea turtles in different individual pools that are a little bit smaller. That's because these turtles are in different recovery levels, so this part is kind of like an intensive care unit. On the day that we were there, we actually got to see some employees replacing one of the turtle's bandages. You can't really tell here, but there is kind of a separate entrance to these little pools, and we didn't get to go into that entrance as they were doing it because they were working, and it's best that they don't get distracted, but it was still really cool to see the employees in action. I don't know what to call those white pipe things in the pools, but what those are back scratchers for the turtles so that they can scratch themselves. If you've made it this far in my video, thank you for sticking around to the end. And if you've made it this far, it's probably because you care a lot about sea turtles, just like I do. I really thought about how I wanted to deliver some of the important messages that I thought I needed to get across about the sea turtles. I considered doing a voiceover, but I didn't want to be rushed because this information is important. So what this ending part of the video is going to be about is the common injuries that bring sea turtles into the hospital, as well as what we can do to help the sea turtles. So even though the injuries and the things that bring them in are really sad, there are things that we all can do to create a safer environment for the sea turtles and other marine life as well. This part of the video isn't quite as happy and fuzzy, but it is important, and I really hope that you stick around for this information. The information that I'm about to share came directly from our educational guide on the tour, and it can also be found in more detail on the Sea Turtle Hospital's website, and I will link that website below. So first I'm going to talk about some of the things that impact turtles, the injuries that they come into the hospital with. So what's interesting is that the same things that draw us into the ocean and the salt water is the very thing that draws in the sea turtles. The stuff that we find beautiful and gorgeous is their ecosystem. And when humans enter these places, they bring things with them that maybe shouldn't be a part of that ecosystem. Things like trash, for example. This becomes problematic quickly because sea turtles will eat anything and everything for the most part. Sea turtles eat a lot of things they shouldn't, and when that happens, they cannot digest what they've eaten. What happens is that this creates a block, it clogs them up basically, and eventually they can die of starvation. So that is one of the things that the Sea Turtle Hospital often finds in the turtles that come in. Another injury that the Sea Turtle Hospital often sees is entanglement. So entanglement is when a sea turtle gets stuck in fishing line or like buoy line. They get stuck in there and they just can't get out. And so oftentimes they'll drown or they will lose a flipper as a result. According to the Sea Turtle Hospital's website, fishing line is around for about 600 years. So that means that most fishing line that's ever been created is still here, and more is being made every day. So I will talk in a little bit about what we can do about this, but this is a real problem for sea turtles. The next injury makes me sad as someone who does enjoy going out on a boat often. Boat strikes are very harmful to turtles for a couple of reasons. So first is that the propeller of the boat can crack through a turtle's shell very easily. And not only is that harmful, but it's also just kind of the force of the boat, like how fast the boat is going. And so even though a turtle's shell is very hard, it's really no match against a boat. So these turtles can get struck by boats, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, and it can result in what they call bubble butt. What bubble butt is basically pockets of air that develop as a result of being struck, and those pockets of air, those bubbles of air, make it impossible for turtles to be able to dive below the water. Therefore, if they're not found, they'll die of starvation because they can't go dive and get their food. I know I already talked about bubble butt earlier, but it's a common problem, and it's also a problem that if a turtle is admitted for this, they will become a permanent resident of the hospital or will get transferred to another facility such as a zoo or something like that. The hospital is able to put weights on the turtle's shell, allowing them to dive, but those weights will fall off as the turtle grows because the shell grows, and they're just not a permanent solution. So when a turtle has bubble butt, that is a lifelong condition because it cannot be fixed. Fibropapilloma is the next thing that brings a lot of sea turtles into the hospital. I am probably pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize, so I'm going to spell it out for you right here. That's how you spell it, and I again apologize for my probable mispronunciation of that word, but basically what it means is that the turtle has tumors. The good news is that these tumors are typically benign, but the bad news is that they still are often deadly because they prevent movement and they also prevent them from being able to see. Many turtles brought in with these tumors do go blind or sometimes already are blind. The only solution for this is actually surgery. There's no vaccine or anything like that yet, and the Turtle Hospital does perform quite a bit of surgeries for these tumors. I know I warned you that this part wouldn't be quite so warm and fuzzy, and so I do apologize if that was difficult to hear, but this is the reality for a lot of sea turtles. The good news is that there are things that we can do, both you and I, all of us can do to make this a better place for turtles to live, survive, and thrive. I'm going to talk about those now. The first thing relates to the fishing line that we talked about earlier. As I mentioned, fishing line lasts for 600 years. That is such a long time. So I know that if you've gotten this far, you will already dispose of your fishing line properly. I just ask in the Turtle Hospital, and every turtle lover asks, that you also dispose of anyone else's that you find laying around. The Florida Keys, all throughout the Keys, on the beaches, in their fishing areas, they have proper disposal places that you can put that fishing line. The Turtle Hospital's website says that you will save a life by picking up that fishing line if you see it. It may not be a sea turtles, it may be a dolphin, it may be a fish, it may be coral, but you will save a life by properly disposing of your fishing line and picking up anyone else's that you find. The next thing that you can do is reduce, reuse, and recycle. We are all hearing a lot about this. Anyways, it's good for our earth to do this. I know that I've always been fairly good about reducing and recycling, but I didn't realize how important it was when I lived in the Midwest. I always thought that I lived too far away from the ocean for my recycling to make a difference. I didn't think there was any way that the items that I use would make it to the ocean, but I now realize how wrong that was. They have had a turtle in the past at the Turtle Hospital with plastic that it ingested from Australia. So if plastic from Australia can make its way to the Keys for this turtle to ingest, then so can your plastic from Iowa or anywhere else. Reducing, reusing, recycling is so important. There are thousands of ideas on how to do this, but some other good ways of doing this, of course, are using a reusable water bottle, looking at how much plastic you're buying at the grocery store. I know produce is awful for plastic. They like cut up the produce and then they cover it in plastic for you to buy at the grocery store. So just being more mindful. One of my favorite quotes is that not everyone needs to do it perfectly. The world just needs all of us doing it imperfectly. I really stumbled on that quote, so I'll post what I'm trying to say here. I tried. The next thing that you can do is to be a responsible boater. A turtle who has bubble butt is not going to be able to get out of the way of an oncoming boat. So being aware of any floating turtles, going slow in the areas that you're supposed to be going slow in, and just being mindful can make a world of difference. You can also donate to places like the Turtle Hospital who try to help the injured sea turtles. They are a nonprofit agency, and there are others out there that you can find. So I encourage you to find one near and dear to your heart. And if you have the means to donate to them, that's a really good place to start as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. As I mentioned, I'm going to link the Turtle Hospital's website below because you can find a lot of additional information on their website. This video was so much fun for me to make, even though at times the topic is heavy. I just love sea turtles so much. I think most of us do, and it feels so important to spread this information out there so that we can have more sea turtles so that they can live safe and all of that. As always, it would mean so much to me if you would give this video a like or a comment and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.